the June 26th meeting of the Hadley Select Board. This evening, we're actually meeting in the library due to a conflict for our normal space. With us this evening, we have Jane Nevinsmith, myself, Molly Keegan, Randy Iser, David Phil, and remotely we have Amy Parsons. So everything tonight will be via roll call vote. Okay, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, signed by the governor on February 15th, 2022, I announce that this meeting of the Select Board is being recorded by Hadley Media, the Select Board's office via Zoom, and ask if there is anyone present who is also recording.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so if no one else is recording, let the minutes reflect that nobody else has indicated that they are recording this meeting. Okay. All right, we have an appointment at 6 o'clock, which is for Pride. So Pride is requesting a change of the LLC manager and the removal of the previous manager, Donald Bissell, and the addition of Robert Giammatteo as the new LLC manager / CFO. Is there someone here from Pride this evening?
I am via Zoom, if you don't mind. I appreciate the time. Again, Attorney James Channing for Pride Operating. The request is to change our LLC manager as well as the officer. As you can see, our CFO retired. We have a new proposed CFO. Needs subject to your approval, ABCC approval, as well as actually the SEC approval too. So quite a lot of approvals needed, but we're here for your consideration and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Channing?
Business will continue as normal. The normal person won't notice a difference, correct?
That's accurate. Yeah, this is a change in the hierarchy. I won't even notice a difference. So let alone over on Russell Street, we won't. The intent's to keep it as long as everything's okay. If there's any complaints about it, let me know and I'll change it. But aside from that, I don't anticipate there be any changes. No.
I move we accept.
Okay, motion made by Jane, seconded by David Phil. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor via roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Phil.
Yes.
Iser.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevinsmith.
Yes.
And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good summer.
Thank you. All right, and the next item we have is the consent agenda. Also, for the consent agenda this evening, we have the minutes from April 17th, 2024 and April 24th, 2024. We have an employee accrued leave payout for the town treasurer, Hadley Historical Commission resignation, Denise Barstow Mance, use of the town commons, Council on Aging, requested by Violet for July 31st, 2024 for a public concert from 12 to 1:30. And then a memorandum of understanding for solid waste management regarding hauling and disposal of sludge. And that's an agreement between Franklin County Solid Waste Management District and the town of Hadley.
I'd like to make one comment about the Council on Aging request.
Sure.
They have requested that we waive the fee.
Because they're a public department. Okay,
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda and waive the fee for the Council on Aging.
Second.
okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor via roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Phil.
Yes.
Iser.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevinsmith.
Yes.
And and Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and the only comment I want to make is I would just like to thank Denise Barstow Mance for all of her years of service on the Hadley Historical Commission. She'll definitely be missed. Okay, 4.1 on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment this evening?
I am here to see if I can ask for approval to start a new business. Is that the time for this?
No, have you been in touch with town hall?
Yes.
In terms
Yes, and they said to come to the beginning of this meeting.
Okay, the select board meeting or perhaps the planning board meeting?
You tell me, should I go to the other one? I can do that.
If you want to just tell us a little bit about it and then hopefully we can,
Sure.
results, yeah.
Yep, I live in Hadley and have a little mini farm, and I have my riding instructor's license and have been approved for a stable license, and I'd like to teach lessons on my property and maybe do some kind of like a farm experience as well, classes.
That sounds like the planning board to me for,
Or help camp sort of.
Yeah, so is it Mary? Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay, Mary, what we can do is, thank you for coming this evening. This isn't normally the process that we would follow. There are times where the select board does get involved with permitting, but I think now that we've heard what you had to say, hopefully tomorrow we can get clarification for you from other folks at town hall, so you know exactly what your next steps are.
Okay, great.
That sound good?
Yes.
Okay, and somebody have your contact information, maybe inspections or somewhere else?
I will, I'm not sure. I can look up who I was talking with. Dee Dee DeBrince. Yeah.
Okay, so Dee Dee has your contact info?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, we'll talk to Dee Dee tomorrow when we get this squared away for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And good luck.
Thanks.
anyone else here for public comment this evening? Okay, if not, then old business 5.1. The Assistant Town Administrator, Human Resource Director. Unless anybody objects, since I wasn't at the last meeting, would it be okay if I talk a little bit more about this? Okay. So I was able to watch the last select board meeting when I was on vacation, and also heard the initial public comments about the topic. And so a couple of things. One is, first of all, I will say that I agree with this discussion about the pay scale of this position. I think when Carolyn and I were first talking about it, at that point in time, the thought was that this individual would definitely be doing kind of more project handoff work from the town administrator. I don't think I personally envisioned a situation where this position would actually have oversight over other department heads. And I believe in talking with Carolyn, the job description that was in front of us that the Collins Center put it into, clearly the wording would indicate that this position would have oversight, et cetera, and a lot of independent decision-making capability, et cetera. So at any rate, just hearing all the discussion that took place and realizing that maybe even from my own standpoint, this had gone a little bit farther than intended. I met with Carolyn and we went through the job description. So tonight you'll see I did put a red-lined version of it. Yeah, should be, yeah. So that's in our board docs material. And really went back to the conversation with Carolyn of what was it that we were trying to achieve. And the main thing we were trying to achieve was to take advantage of the fact that we are going to be filling Troy Brin's job. We know what pay grade he was in, but the sense was that this individual should have time to do other things. So, you know, Carolyn and I took a little bit of liberty here to bring something back to you that might resolve some of the issues that were discussed at the last meeting. And have eliminated the concept of an assistant town administrator. And we're calling it an HR director / project coordinator. And I believe when you, and I know this is hard because a lot of the discussions we've had about the wage and compensation study have been in executive session. So I'm just going to be careful with my wording here. When you think about the process that we approved, there is a methodology behind how one comes up with a pay scale. and pay grade. And I believe, again, when Carolyn came to you last week, the numbers that were thrown out were based on all of this supervisory authority and, you know, covering for Carolyn in her absence, et cetera. So a lot of that has now been stripped out, which should put this job back into the range that, David, I think you were the first one to point out. So again, it wasn't intended for this to be above many of the other department heads as it kind of played out when it went back to the Collins Center. So at any rate, I'm throwing that out for discussion this evening to see if that might be something people find more appropriate and palatable.
Well, I appreciate the liberties that you folks have taken with this job description. I like this much better. I think this is what we really, this is what I thought this job was going to be. So I am very much in favor of what you've done with this.
And thank you for doing it.
Sure.
You love red light.
I do like red line. Well, not that kind of redlining. Editing Word documents redlining.
So what are your thoughts on the pay scale? It says bachelor's degree minimum with 3 to 5 experience, preferred master's or HR certificate. Are we? I mean, that makes a huge difference in pay scale. So, are we still talking down a bit?
Well, you were talking 80
Yeah,
as a
Yeah.
start. I think that's a,
Well, and I think what we want to do is, you know, again, just being careful, take a look at the grid that we've been discussing in executive session, and then putting that job into a more appropriate one that should give us our range right there. And as far as I can tell, it aligns with your thinking.
and I was gonna say that even reviewing this, that might actually drop it into what I would say is the 70s. And that only has the very low end of that. Obviously, we probably find someone more qualified and should be higher paid, but I just don't wanna get ourselves stuck with somebody that might be a good candidate that we shouldn't be paying that much, you know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah, so if it's okay with everybody, what we can, if people are comfortable with this job description, so that we'll just go back and we'll work to have it regraded and then can communicate that range to you.
That makes sense. I know Carolyn was concerned about her ability to get this job posted sooner than later. So I guess we better make that a priority so that it can get posted.
Would people feel comfortable, based on the conversation we just had, would you feel comfortable approving it subject to it coming in where we're anticipating, and then only not moving forward with it if, you know, again, they come back and they say, no, it's still $110,000 job.
I would feel if it was, if the bottom end of the scale was anywhere between 70 and 85, I'd be okay with saying that as like, you know, if we're starting above there, I think maybe we need to take a harder look at it, but I'd be okay with that as a bottom.
I agree.
all right, I make a motion.
Yeah,
If
I
we
agree.
accept this, assuming that the grading comes back with the bottom end of this pay grade scale between 70, and I would even say 80, not go to 85.
Yeah, that's fine.
And if that is true, then go ahead and post it.
I'll
I'll
second that.
second that. Amy got it.
Okay, so motion made by Jane, seconded by Amy. No further discussion, roll call vote?
Call vote, Phil,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes,
And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Amy, I have to keep looking at you because there's just a little bit of a delay. So,
Oh,
yes, I don't want to cut you off.
can you guys hear the AC in the background? I was debating turning it off.
Can't hear it. So stay cool.
Wait.
Okay, then old business item 5.2, select board liaison policy. Carolyn, did you want to tee this up? Or-
Yeah, I think we found this in a previous, it had come up at a previous select board meeting. But I don't think that it ever got voted on. And I think that's what the questions I will get from departments, as well as a new select board member, is what is the role of the liaison? And so I had presented this a while back, and it looks like it's what everyone's looking for, but I want to actually have you guys agree that this is how you want to move forward.
Mhm.
And so that just like, give the departments an idea of what your role is.
And then assuming we approve it, we're gonna write at the bottom, approved June 2024.
Okay, sure.
I move we accept it.
I'll second that. The only. I guess question I had was. You know, you mentioned talking to other boards and committees and or other departments is fine. But can we just agree amongst ourselves that if there's something that, you know, I want to talk to police department about, that we give the liaison kind of a heads up before we start working on a project or trying to get those department heads to go in a certain direction, just so that we can kind of keep everybody in the loop, that's all, so.
That sounds
Yeah.
reasonable and, yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
just for clarification, a select board member shouldn't give directives on behalf of the board unless it comes before the board.
Sometimes that happens though, so
Yeah,
just to
it
be,
does.
just
You're
to.
giving me a heads up as well.
Yeah.
You guys are usually very
Yeah.
good about it,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. Everybody, any further discussion on this topic?
The document looks wonderful.
Yep. And you're right, Carolyn, and I was gonna make a point about, normally we do like a first and a second reading when we're, but I know we've seen this before, I just
Yeah.
don't, so, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if everybody's all set, then roll call vote,
Roll call vote, Phil,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes,
Keegan.
yes.
Nevinston.
Yes.
And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just as a follow-up to the comment that Jane made about the, you know, marking approved and stuff like that at the bottom with the date that it was approved, at an upcoming select board meeting, could we have, I'd like to put something on the agendas that's specific to all select board policies. Yeah, how we codify them and, you know, there's some things that we can and can't do, because when you have a future board, you can't compel a future board, but there's so many things that I know we voted on before, and then they just kind of go into the ether.
Yeah, I saw some of those when I was reading the old minutes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Molly, if you're okay with that, I'd like to add a little bit more on that agenda when we go on it, just because we have so many old policies. I mean, we have notebook going back to when Robin was here.
Yeah.
And that is gonna be one of my goals, is a lot of policies to be updated.
Okay, great.
Agenda item.
Good. So question for Carolyn before we move on, we have. Oh, did we vote on that? Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yep. So 5.3 and 5.4, should we discuss 5.4 before we do 5.3?
Yes, that would definitely makes sense.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Nope, no problem. Okay. So this topic is about the gift of land policy.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, and this just happened recently, again, I guess a policy that could have been in place at some point, but I don't know where it is what's the process of when land either wants to be gifted to, because there's two options. If somebody wants to gift their land, they can request to gift it to the town. That doesn't have anything to do with conservation. That has to go to a town meeting vote with lots of other steps. With gifting it towards conservation, which we'll be talking about, that does not have to go to town meeting. It goes to conservation and it goes through the select board. So what I'm looking for is, because I really don't know what the process is. Sue is on, and so she was able to go through the steps And which I appreciated her taking, doing those steps. It's just, I'm not sure where it lands. So for the next select board member, what's that process? And so ironically, when I put that out with my peers, they were coming back, we went through this is the same issue. And then I did find something from our former town council that was on a checklist, which I've included on the process. Now, it's really a busy document, and I'm just wondering if it can be simplified. But then I did put in the public, I think it's in the, let's see. There was just one, but that was just a combination of a couple emails that I got from my peers of what would be a step. It's just, for example, so the public can understand what I'm trying to articulate, is there'd be a checklist, like the landowner sends an offer letter to the select board sends out a request to departments for comments, site visit the appropriate representative from the town, check on tax title status, if select board wants to accept it, schedule a vote, if it's at town meeting. If not, again, there's another process, and I do have a policy that I'll share with Kayla for the Conservation Commission as well. Complete necessary deeds, town records, execute deed. But then there's also another level, which you will see in KP Law's checklist of kind of who owns what's the responsibility of the resident who wants to, the financial responsibility of the resident, and what the town owns in that whole process.
So in terms of accepting a piece of land, we take it off the tax rolls, basically.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've read all this, and I know that the thing from KP Law is very busy, but you never know what might come before the select board. So I don't see any reason to diminish it or minimize it. It's just, you go through it and you utilize whatever is appropriate for the given situation.
Mhm.
One thing that I have a concern about, especially a property like this one that's being offered to the town, where is it? We know generally where it is, but where is it?
Yeah, and
Because,
Susan's on here to help with that.
well,
Yes.
all right, well, I'll be,
That's where I wasn't sure how much information to provide ahead of
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
And that's where I need the guidance. I need to know what's Hadley's process. And I think that would be helpful for the resident, when the resident comes in, to see something that what's the process when we want to donate.
And this would have to go to town meeting, correct?
This, the property that we're talking about, or this, where there's two ways to do it. If it's getting donated to conservation, it does not.
Oh, conservation, okay,
And select board have to collectively
Yeah.
agree.
right, okay,
Anything else has to go to.
that has to go to town meeting, okay.
So then number 4 under administrative content. The select board and conservation have to accept it, but then it says if we want to, select board wants to accept it, it has to go to town.
No, this is just a collection of comments. So no, that's if it was gifted directly to the town. It's not a
Okay.
land that conservation would
Okay,
have oversight over.
okay.
I'm definitely in favor of having a policy and a checklist. You know,
yeah. Yeah, I agree. And one of the things, and being a land surveyor, there's a line item in the KP Law thing that says the landowner should provide a survey to the town at their expense. Now, that can get costly.
Mhm.
It could be $5,000 or $10,000 potentially. But again, we know generally where this land is, but we don't know where it is. And until it gets surveyed and gets marked on the ground, we don't know where it is.
Mhm.
And that is a concern to me. Where are we gonna own something that we don't know what we own?
well, at a minimum, somebody physically representing the town should have walked the property.
Well, you
right?
don't know where the property
That
is.
could be in the middle of the water, yeah.
Well, so take your property, for instance, Molly, where between you and your mother.
Yeah.
Where you didn't know where the line was.
Right.
So that's why where somebody like me comes in, because it's very easy to assume that the land is here when it could be over there.
Mhm.
And it saves the town problems later when the neighbor says, no, that's mine.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
The only thing I would say is that, especially with the conservation land, we should have the ability to waive that, because there could be somebody that wants to donate some really good conservation land, but maybe can't afford to do a survey, but something that would be beneficial for the town or for conservation to have. So I just want to make sure we have a little bit of flexibility, you know, in the actual applying the checklist for something like that, because I hate to lose
Yes,
acres of conservation land over $5,000 that they can't afford. So,
right. Yeah. No, that makes, I mean, I think when it's clearly in the town's interest.
Right.
Yeah,
Well.
we
but
should be
keep
able to
in-
negotiate.
Keep in mind,
Mhm.
the town's interest is no good if we don't know what we're getting.
Yep, I agree.
So if somebody says, I'm gonna give you 20 acres, and they say it's over there,
Right.
but it's really over there, and we go work on this over there, and somebody comes along in 5 years and says, why are you doing that to my property? We don't want to get caught up in that.
no, I just meant if someone's donating 20 acres, then, and it's something that's great conservation land, maybe that's something the town spends the $5,000 on, because it would be such a good asset to
Mhm.
conservation versus having this.
Yeah.
Gifter.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
Right, so I'll make a motion to approve both of these documents as policy.
Or do we want to, kind of first and second reading? You want to?
I think it needs more work.
Okay.
I think that needs, this outside of KP laws, but if you want to have one, it's just for Hadley, with that as a compliment or refer back to it. I think it would be helpful just to kind of clean up and get some more details about how you want that checklist to look.
Yeah, and who the points of contact are.
All that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would draw the motion.
okay, so,
Something.
yeah, but we can put this on, at a future select board meeting for a vote.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
all right, thank you. Okay, so now that we've had that discussion, 5.3, we have proposed gift of land on Hockenham Road, Fort Meadow parcel ID 003-0017, followed by 4 zeros, to the Conservation Commission.
So I looked as best I could to find this piece and it looks like it's right down abutting Mitch's.
So Sue is on,
Mhm.
just to answer any questions.
It's quite a ways north of Mitch's. Jane,
Just let me know how you want me to move the map so you can orient
so
yourself.
if you, I mean, the bottom of the page, Jane, is
Is where
Mitch's.
Mitch's meets Mitch's Drive.
Is where the marina is.
Right.
So we're out in the woods. Quite a bit.
Can you
and
get a bigger one? We're looking at that piece, Jennifer, please.
That might be too much.
That was really big.
So it's totally landlocked.
Well, in theory, the old road goes through it somewhere,
It does.
Mhm.
and
The snowmobile trail, and during the summer, it's a hiking trail, I guess, that quite a few people use goes, I believe, through that, and if not, the next couple of properties.
and I have no idea what the river access would be there, whether that would be beneficial or not.
It's 15 or 20 foot drop from,
Okay, so that's not beneficial.
Is it a liability that if we own it and somebody falls off of it into the water? Or they put their rope swing there?
I believe recreation, and Sue can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe recreational land, we don't have liability is what I've heard in the past, but Sue would probably be the expert on that.
Yeah, that would be a trespass and
Yeah.
recreational land, yeah, exactly. So,
Can you hold back up the the picture again? Because the only thing I was wondering, is it just tract number 17 there, or does it also include 14A? The only reason I'm asking is because the deed indicates that it's 7.5 acres.
Interesting. Reason for survey.
Yeah, it says 7.5 acres.
Can you click on 14A to see the property card? See if it's the same person.
That's another Commonwealth, it's like,
Okay,
All of the property around it is owned by, it's exempt property and owned by the Commonwealth, so.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that we had the right one.
That was a good catch, Amy. Very clearly says contains 7.5 acres, more or less, but you know,
That's a lot less.
Well, the river has moved. And in some
that's true too.
situations, it's taken considerable land from the town of, or the owners in Hadley, so that's the possibility of what could have happened there.
2 acres though, Randy?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's stuff up farther north that's completely gone.
Hmm.
It's under the river.
Mm.
So. And there's no guarantee that because the deed says 7.5 acres that it's correct.
Sure.
And we're looking at an assessor's map, which is for taxation purposes only.
So
Like,
this is what Randy was saying earlier, the reason with the survey would be really useful to know what it is we're looking at.
And I mean, I said it at the last meeting, I'll say it again, the state owns everything around it, the state ought to own this,
Yeah.
not the town. But again, if the town can take it and then transfer it to the state and get some money out of it, I'm all in favor of that.
And I don't know that they'll necessarily get any money out of it, Randy. However, Gary Pelletier and the Conservation Commission, I watched their meeting, and they felt it would be a negotiating tool for future dealings with the state on other properties that we were looking, that we had interest in. So that they had one contiguous piece at the river. So, you know, you can take that for what it's worth, but
Yeah.
that was the discussion.
So can we require that? I'm assuming conservation has approved this, right? Or is in favor of this?
They did,
Okay.
yes.
What is it assessed at currently? Or its taxes or some number for us?
It's, they're around $100 a year. It's around $100. I don't have it right in front of me, sorry.
Okay.
You
So
folks
can
had it on the map, though.
Can we require that they get it surveyed as a condition of us taking it? I mean, since it's nothing that's super valuable to the town, nothing that we said, oh, we have to have this, I think we should pay
So,
them. Right?
so what I will tell you, David, is if I go back to Mary Crayson and say, the town wants it surveyed, and I don't know, Randy, how much would that cost?
Well, it depends, in thinking about this, if the Commonwealth owns everything around it, they probably have it surveyed by default, by doing everything around it. I have to see if I could find the plans that I believe are down there for that. But anyhow, to do that is gonna be probably $4,000 or $5,000.
So, with that said, they don't want to pay the $100 a year that they're paying in taxes. So they're not likely to pay $4,000 or $5,000 to gift it to the town.
So
what
what's
they
your
will
point?
do is, so what they will do is they won't pay the taxes. It will go into tax title and it will remain in our tax title account until we foreclose upon it. And it will cost us probably somewhere around $3,000 or plus back taxes. So now, with that said, Mary Crayson brought this tax title property current last year so that she could gift it to the town. She certainly didn't need to do that. So
Based on the position of the Conservation Commission and their feeling that this could be a bargaining chip or something in the future, that's not something I looked at. And I think that's not a bad thing. So I would be in favor of taking it.
Especially if
Accepting
you
it.
think the state's land is gonna be well surveyed.
Yeah. Well, even if it
do we
isn't,
want to do it though, based on everything that you said previously? Do you want to do it contingent upon the town gaining satisfaction that we know where the boundary markers are? I mean, you know, just that we know exactly where this is. I still think somebody should
Yeah, I think that'd be a good motion for
step foot on it, you know?
chief.
Yeah,
I don't have any business in this, but what I can tell you is that everything that we learn, we've done all the work. From Mitch's Island, and cleaning the island up, working with DCR and all that. The state DCR specifically would really like to acquire as much of that property as possible so that they can have. So they can keep the area clean, you know, for conservation purposes, so. I don't know if that's who you were talking about for the bargaining chip or not, but if that's the case, I mean. They nail everything else around it, I can almost guarantee you that they would love to have that one as well.
Sure they would. And based on that, I don't feel like this is a piece of land that you and I are gonna walk down there and go use it tomorrow if the town owns it. So this one, I really don't care where it is because the town's not gonna necessarily do anything with it. And if the state buys it, it's gonna be on them to figure out where it is. And if we use it as a bargaining chip, so be it. And to Sue's point, we're not collecting any money on it now, so we might as well just have it in inventory and use however we can in the future to the best advantage for the town.
especially if the option of accepting it is to have it go into foreclosure ultimately.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a while.
Yeah, nonetheless.
But to Sue's point, it would cost
Yeah.
us money to get it out.
Well, no, it really won't be a while. I mean, because it'll go into tax title in September. I will advertise it, which costs us money. I will file the instrument of taking, which costs us money. It will go to Linda. Linda will have to put it into land court, which was cost us money. We will wait 6 to 8 months for anybody to dispute that. And then we'll hold on to it for another year in the redemption period. So it's just, you know, it's just going to cost us more money.
Yeah, there was a cost associated in the town to get some of this stuff worked on.
Right, we already incurred money on this, didn't we?
But the deed's all written.
However, well, we incurred costs. However, when Mary Crayson satisfied the tax title account, she paid all of those costs and said, I just want to be done with this. I just want to gift this to the town. Half of it's underwater. I can't get to it. I can't do anything with it. So that's where we are.
But so getting to this point right now, there were some costs incurred, some legal costs, right?
That have all been paid by Mary Crayson, because any cost that the town, yes, any cost that the town incurs for, not since I sent in the deed to our current attorney who drew up whatever they drew up.
That's
But
what I'm talking about.
everything through last year, any costs that we incurred legally or otherwise were paid by Mary Crayson.
Yeah, I think
She's
we're
not
talking
going
about,
to pay us to do a deed. She will just let it go and let all the costs fall on the town. And I don't blame her. It's a piece of property that is worthless to her or us or anyone. I mean, well, probably not the state, but whatever.
right, but again, we're just clarifying that we just incurred the legal costs with our attorney.
Yeah, to write the
As
deed.
appropriate to write.
To do,
the deed.
to do
Did
a
cost
deed.
us-
Yes.
Yeah,
to
so
do
it
a
did
deed
cost
to
us
file.
something.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I don't know, is Randy?
I didn't make a motion. I said I would accept it. So we have a written motion here, which I will read.
Okay.
I hereby move that the select board accept the donation of land by the record owners of the land known as Fort Meadow, parcel ID 003-0017-0000 pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, to be held under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission. The land is described in a deed recorded in the Hampshire County Registry of Deeds in Book 14834, page 155. Said land contains approximately 5.3 acres according to the assessor's map.
there a second on Randy's motion?
Second.
All right, motion made by Randy, seconded by David Phil.
Do we worry about the quick claim deed and the property acre size?
I wouldn't, Jane.
Okay, I don't worry about that.
Okay, so motion made and seconded, roll call vote, Jennifer?
Roll call vote, Phil,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes,
And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so under new business, I believe we are skipping over 6.1, is that correct? Okay. 6.2, board and committee appointments, is that Jennifer?
That's me. So I put a nice little color coded key at the bottom showing everybody who was up for renewal, the vacancies, and then what their new terms would be. We do have a couple of new appointments on there. Tom Giles, which, sorry, I can't see if he's here. I opened it
he's
up.
not here.
Okay, he's not online. Okay, I thought that he was coming, and also E-Dragon is also requesting to be put on historical commission. And unfortunately, Brianna Quinn and Irene Costello have not reached out to me with their renewals. Although they confirmed with Diana West they wish to be appointed, they did not send in their renewals to me. So this is a full, complete list.
Sorry, Jennifer, Tom Giles is on what committee?
He wants to be on the Council on Aging.
Council on Aging, okay.
He's a temporary right
He
now.
is not, he has not been appointed by the select board. The Council on Aging is appointed by the select board, and he's never come before this board.
Okay,
So Glenn Clark retired
that's what I figured it was fine, yeah.
and Tom took over till the end of his term,
But he's,
but he hasn't been approved, so.
So you guys do need to, if that's the case, you guys need to vote on
Yep.
it, so he can be sworn in.
Okay. And do you want a motion to do that separately?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need a separate or are we just accepting?
you could vote to accept this as a suite, as the whole motion. Or you can pull out the two new appointments and then appoint everybody, reappoint everybody. It's your pleasure. I don't know what your preference is.
Do it all at once.
Okay, any discussion or
We need to make a motion to do that.
questions? Yes, we do.
I move we accept this beautiful list. And the new appointments be included and that they would be effective as of today and need to come in for certification ASAP. Jennifer, Jessica, July 1st.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay, so a second,
Second,
motion made by Jane, seconded by Randy. Any further discussion on this? If not, Jennifer, roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Phil,
Yes, with the exception of Jim Maximowski and David Phil Senior, who happen to be related to, so I'll pass on.
Isaac,
yes.
Partial recusal.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
yes,
and Parsons.
The same, actually, no, I'm good. My mom's not up. So, yes.
Right, thank you.
Okay. All right, item 6.3. Human Resource Assistant request for a change of schedule.
So this is a request for a change of hours. There's a letter in board docs
Mhm.
addressed to you to change her hours while she goes through school. And that's listed there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 to 5, Friday, 8 to 4, and Thursday, 8 to 1. Typically, she's 2:30 to 4:30, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the amount of hours are the same, it's just the hours worked each day are different, correct? The time worked. Okay, I have no problem with this.
Oh,
especially because she's studying human resource management.
Yeah, there you go. So I'll make a motion to accept this request.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded for discussion. The concern I have, I mean, first of all, Emily's been doing a wonderful job, so just wanna, you know, certainly what we've heard from Joan and, but if we do this, are we setting a precedent for other municipal employees to come in and ask for an adjustment to their schedule based on?
Yeah, I think you do have a point there.
Yeah. Again, this is not personal at all to her. As a matter of fact, kudos. I mean, I think it's fantastic that she's going back to school to do this. But there have been other employees who've also wanted to go to school and wasn't conducive to their work hours. We're in the middle of this handbook thing and everything. So,
Something that the supervisor should be overseeing.
well, and isn't this also a union position?
This is not a union position.
Oh, because it's the HR.
So just, so you're as clear as possible, we do have another employee who did go to school. He went in person, so you were, but he has a flexible schedule
Mhm.
because his hours are all over the place. That's Alex.
Yeah, actually, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I know that, but they had given
We
you
had
that
Right.
Right.
Yeah, haven't been doing all the programs, so you don't have to worry about me.
Mhm.
because he had to travel and get to his position.
What does our current handbook that we have say about this? I know that we haven't necessarily been following it, but I'm just curious, so.
We've been following the current. I would have to look, I don't recall seeing that. In our current handbook. Anything with school. Is there any additional questions you want asked of her, or is there any information?
Does Joan have a problem with this? Do we know?
I'm sorry.
No, I was
And-
gonna say that the only question I had was, as long as the department itself is gonna be covered during business hours. Cause Joan will be there, you know, let's on Thursdays after 1 PM, right?
Well, I can't say vacation, personal time, sick time. And to be fair, none of the departments in town hall have enough staff to guarantee that there won't be times where their office is closed. Is the,
Right, but I think, I guess what I was thinking was that as long, it's like, I would approve this with the caveat that if it's all good and kosher and we say it's fine, but we still, because this is an accommodation for her and for the department, that we would still like there to be coverage.
Can she go to school at other times than on a Thursday? I mean, it seems
so
kind of,
she actually worked that around Joan's request because she wanted to do one on Friday. So for clarification, it is an online class that she is flexible for her. She can take that when what works best. And there was an original request to do it on Fridays, but Joan, for Joan, payroll weeks are really difficult, so she asked that it be Thursdays instead.
could she do it on Saturday or Sunday too? I mean, off hours? If it's a flexible online class?
I could confirm that with her, but I know this was worked based on Joan's, final not final, but her input, so I suspect it can be done at her.
Put it off for.
Yeah. Does she have a hard start date of July 1?
It says beginning in September 2024. Is when she wants to do
Well, it
this.
says beginning July 1, I will be returning to school
Yeah.
virtually.
In the updated letter, Molly, it states, the one that she gave this morning that was loaded says September.
Sorry, where does it say that?
If there's an updated one,
I don't have.
there's
an
two,
updated one.
there are two.
I uploaded it this morning.
Should be two attached
Need
to that
request.
item.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Gotcha.
Oh, that one.
Since we have time, I'd recommend, and then maybe this is something we want to also bear in mind when we're in executive session discussing the handbook.
Right, so I move we table this for till the next meeting.
Yeah, not deny it right now, but just put it on.
That's fine.
Okay. Amy, you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay,
And if we can just get some clarification, whether it's a, you know, an online anytime class, or it's an online that she has to be there for the lecture
Yeah.
that day
Oh,
during the
right.
time. Because if it can be done on a Saturday or Sunday, it should be, or after hours, but if it's, you know.
all right, moving along, item 6.4, employee appointments. I believe we have Chief Michael Mason here this evening requesting the appointment of the following traffic control officers. Do you want me to read their names or?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, okay. Mark Dominic, Harold Swift, William Soba, John Ruffler, and Stanley DeLeo.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all retired police officers, with losing a few of our traffic control folks, as well as the 116 project coming up at the same time as the Route 9 project. They're going to be resurfacing 116. We're in need of a few more people out there to help direct traffic. They will be acting as civilians, same as all of our other ones. All of the hiring process has been the exact same, and simply requesting that they be appointed so that we can handle all the traffic problems that are going to be in 116 now as well.
Does anybody have any questions for the chief?
Well, while we're talking on the subject, if for a future meeting or agenda item, I would like to possibly discuss the detailed pay and the way they're set up, just because of, I think, some of the costs that I've seen on finance and some of the, I'm not sure if the 10% covers our administrative time that we get. So I just kind of wanted to explore a little bit more to.
Love it.
All right.
Okay,
I
well,
move
put
we
it on the
accept-
list.
Move we accept.
Second,
Motion made by Jane, seconded by David Phil. Roll call vote, Jennifer?
Roll call vote, Phil,
yes.
Isaac,
Yes,
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevinson. Yep. And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 6.5, we have an abatement request for the Hockenham Cemetery. Collector's office is requesting an administrative abatement in the amount of $34.92. Does anybody have any questions on this?
24.92.
Yep. So this was a billing error. So this request is coming from our own department.
right. Motion to accept the abatement.
Second,
Second.
Motion made by Randy, seconded by David. Roll call vote?
Roll call vote, Phil,
yes.
Isaac.
Yes,
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevinson. Yes. And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have a second abatement request also from the collector's office in the amount of $131.25. And this is for 237 Russell Street. Again, details have been attached. Does anybody have any questions for Sue while she's in?
could you explain what this means, Sue? This structure was demolished without returning the water meters?
Right, it was the Comfort Inn, and the structure was demolished and, the meters weren't returned. We were not notified of a final, which is typical. So we billed the next access fees. And obviously the building was gone, so that's why that's happening.
Okay, so I now I see it's access fee only. I get it. Understood.
Yeah.
All right. Motion to accept the abatement.
There's a second?
Second.
Motion made by Randy, seconded by Jane. Roll call vote, Jennifer?
Roll call vote, Phil,
No,
Isaac,
Yes,
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevinson.
Yes.
And Parsons.
Yes.
Thank you.
Could I just make a suggestion? Years ago, when we had administrative abatements, the board that was active then, when David Nixon was administrator, town administrator, they agreed to authorize him to do the administrative abatements, so it didn't take up time for you folks, because there's nobody coming forward that needs to be heard. You know, why they need this. It's simply, typically it's computer issues. And I don't know if you folks want to look at that or not. So.
So
that on the
before we go
agenda.
into too much discussion, just.
Yeah, I just wrote down.
I can kind of try to.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll put it on and it'll dovetail into the board policies and how we're tracking those. So that'll be good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good point. Thank you, Sue.
Okey doke.
Thank you. All right, so moving down then to the town administrator's report and project updates.
Okay, so the town administrator's report, we are having absolutely no response for getting assistant chief wastewater operator. We're getting a response, but they're not qualified. So I will be bringing that up at a future meeting to look at some options. I may even have a little comment down below, but right now there is no positions in the interview process, and we've already discussed the extended offer of employment for the DPW supervisor, which seems to be going well with that, so that's great. Our next meeting with UPSCU, the local 424, which it's the municipal clerks union, is scheduled for July 2nd. The professional firefighters, that's in process, and there are some additional meetings. I'm sorry, I didn't get back to it when those were agreed. Molly did update. That was present since the last meeting.
Yeah, that was.
We already
Yeah, we
updated
heard
on
you,
that.
sorry.
Okay. All of the department heads have been notified of the results of their compensation, and because it's continuous wage discussions with the unions, those have not gone out to. Those are still a part of the discussions in our union negotiations. So let's see. So we're presently reviewing the price proposal from the First Choice for the OPM for the DPW. For their choice of OPM for the building, for the schematic design. Looks like we're trying to clarify the scope of work and the understanding that was presented by Weston and Sampson. So I will have more of an update, but Jim, and a few of, I've had discussions with Jim and the company that was your first choice, their first choice, their recommendation. We've just got some additional conversations to have with Weston and Sampson for clarification, but I will keep you updated as we go along with that. Municipal solar, that we did get some more information back. Michael Doctor has been helping with that. We did not go with the original consultants for various reasons. He suggested looking at another consultant to do that, which we have. So I will, as we get more clarification on that, I will be presenting that. Hockley Cemetery Fence, that meeting got rescheduled with the attorneys and the contractor for July 2nd, so that'll be happening then. As you can see, they were still there when I came over the town hall columns, that project, they're wrapping that up. Right, Jennifer, that's getting pretty close.
It's very close.
They're so white compared to the rest of the building.
Yeah, that's right. Exterior, definitely. I spoke with town council. They are filing a license to sell the probate court. This takes a few weeks. Other files are needed to be ordered from storage that are pretty old through probate as well. So you're still planning on a July closing date, but I will again keep you updated with that. Today, I had a great opportunity to facilitate a workshop for a woman leading government in Boylston, so I appreciate that time out, and we're doing some things for Mass Municipal Association. Also tomorrow, I am sitting on the Mass Municipal Association gives out a scholarship, and it's called the Nancy Galgowski Legacy Fund. So I wrote there what it's established for. It's basically those employees that are working in government that want to get more opportunities for education. I was actually a recipient of their scholarship to go to Suffolk for the municipal program. So I'm sitting on that as well to screen out applications for that scholarship. So again, thank you for that opportunity to do that. And just as a heads up, I will be on vacation. I'll be sending you something out Friday, but I will be on vacation from July 5th and returning July 15th. So there was no other updates with the other projects. There's no updates to share with you on those.
So the Connecticut River Dike System, do you remember what the next steps are with that?
Yeah, I talked about that the last time we met, I'm gonna go back to the concrete straits report.
I remember the silver jackets and all that stuff.
Yes, and we're supposed to get a report in the next few weeks, for the final recommendation.
Okay, so we still don't have it. Okay,
Yes.
so we're still waiting for the report.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions anybody else has on any of these other projects or anything for Carolyn tonight? No? Okay. Thank you. Any liaison reports this evening?
I got to meet with Patrick at the library, and I will be representing us, the select board, at the Celebrity Story Time on August 8th. I'm nervous. So yeah, they asked me to do it, and I said, all right. I did elementary education for 2.5 years in college. So I'd be happy to come and represent us.
Great. Sounds like fun. Anybody else?
So I'll give a quick pass on from the school committee meeting, I guess it was Monday. The drilling trucks that were in the parking lot, that was for geothermal test wells. Kind of interesting, I guess they went down 41 feet before they hit clay, they went down another 250 feet until they hit rock. And then they ended up going down, I think it was 800 feet. And then they had to sit there for a couple of days because the wells had to quote unquote rest for some testing process that they do. And my understanding is that whatever they found was pretty good. And instead of drilling, I don't know, 20 wells, they're saying because of the depth, maybe we could get away with fewer wells and still get the same result. So it's kind of cool. They're going to, I think, Mount Holyoke to check out their system, and so that's moving along. It's pretty neat. But that was people were asking about the drill trucks. So
What's going on?
Yeah, really. Wondered about photos.
Okay, good. All right, then if nothing else, then announcements. Does anybody have any announcements this evening? I just have one. No? So just want to express condolences for the passing of Ted Bishko, Hopkins Academy graduate and very, very, very long time employee over at Weinzick's Nurseries and Greenhouses. So we lost him the other week. So on behalf of the select board, want to express condolences for his to his family on his passing. If nothing else, then we have a couple of executive sessions scheduled this evening. Would somebody like to make a motion that we go into executive session?
So this is Amy's favorite thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull that up. All right, I'm going to make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 7, to review approval and or release the following executive session minutes in accordance with Chapter 30A, SS 22FG, pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting, oh, actually, I need to tell you. So we're going to do executive session minutes for 6/1/2022, 6/15/2022, 7/13/2022, 8/3/2022, 10/15/2022, 10/19/2022, 12/7/2022, and 12/13/2022.
Yeah. It's Amy, just a correction. It was October 5th, not 15th.
12/5, I'm sorry, 10/5/2022. And to general law, chapter 30A, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting law may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body for the employee handbook and compensation study.
And not to convene an open session.
Oh, and we
And
will
that-
not be reconvening an open session.
Second,
Hold on.
Do you, and you need 2 votes?
Then we need to add that, she said up to, Sportsman's Board of Gate, MAB 129 and firefighter union IAFF local 5486.
To specifically spell out the union names, Amy?
Oh, okay, sorry. So also amendment to my motion. And we're also going into executive session pursuant general law, chapter 30A, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining of the Municipal Employees Union, UPSEU, local 424, MADIV 129, and firefighter union, IAFF local 5486.
Okay. So,
second,
so motion made by Amy, seconded by Randy. So motion made and seconded. As chair of the Hadley Select Board, I state that the board has moved and seconded to enter into executive session. And I state that discussing this matter in open session will have a detrimental impact on the bargaining position of the town of Hadley. Jennifer, roll call vote?
Roll call vote, Phil,
Yes.
Isaac,
yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevinston.
Yes.
And Parsons.
Yes.